Cinderella is the second most iconic princess in the world. I mean, she set the premise. If you watch until the end of the video, guys, you'd notice that she's at the front. And notice that Snow White is not at the front as she would, probably because Cinderella was the most iconic fairy tale in the world. And Cinderella's dress is most beautiful. While she may come in second to Snow White as the second movie after the success of Snow White, Cinderella comes in second and first out of the Disney princesses. Now, the movie Cinderella answered a lot of questions that we had from the 1950 movie from Disney. And yes, guys, I mean, I did like the Cinderella film. Really, the only thing that I just didn't like was that, yes, it stuck to the premise, but there have been other Cinderella films, anime Cinderella, Japanese, even Chinese, and some are just German because technically Cinderella's story is from Germany, as Aschenputtel, as you know. I like the dress. The dress basically was brand new, was beautiful, the hair was wonderful, but the most thing they had to have trouble with is the glass slippers. The glass slippers have to be like probably almost real glass, and I'm pretty sure other theorist people have answered the glass slipper question, why the fairy godmother let Cinderella keep the glass slippers. Like, I'm pretty sure like either Super Carlin Brothers answered this for us or not, but yeah. Anywhere. Do they rule a separate monarchy? Because if that's so, then I don't know what to make of that. I just know that Beauty and the Beast takes place in 1700s France from the time, the period of clothing, and from the language, and most of all from what we can see in Beauty and the Beast live action. Out of the live action films so far, I actually thought that one was the best. And why Disney actually wanted to make a live action film of Beauty and the Beast, I'll never know. But they're probably gonna make more live action films, like of maybe The Prince and the Frog or Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And basically, their movies like already have been cracked for their sequels, like Frozen 2. I wouldn't hold out much, even though people will want to see it. I say Once Upon a Time is already kind of cracked the Frozen 2 movie that we've all wanted probably to see. Anna and Kristoff are on the verge of getting married, and Elsa and Anna are best friends in the whole wide world, and they go on this amazing adventure. Sure, there are other characters out there, but the stories are kind of mixed up, but it's still a Frozen 2 movie. Hans takes over, and he literally traps Anna and Kristoff and tries to drown them and kill them, but yeah, really, but whatever you guys think of Frozen 2 will probably be good. Now, besides the live action films, which are really, really good, let's get to the movies that I consider are complete and utter outrage that these girls are not Disney princesses. For one thing out of another, there are many girls out there who portray Disney princesses but are not Disney princesses. Here are some examples: Odette, Anastasia, Princess Ione, and those are just a few princesses who aren't Disney related. Of course, the animators who made them, most of them were from Fox or Blumhouse Pictures, and some of them may have been Disney related people, like the people who made Anastasia and the Swan Princess, basically Anastasia and Odette, as the main characters. It looked like a Disney film, but it technically was owned by 20th Century Fox. So, and thankfully Disney's about to buy 20th Century Fox. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below if you all think that Anastasia, Odette, and the rest of the princesses from 20th Century Fox will become Disney princesses. But then again, there could be a few girls who could be. Like, there are girls in Disney princess films who could be Disney princesses, but just because some of them aren't Disney princesses doesn't mean that they can be. Like Esmeralda from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, she would be perfect as a Disney princess on this list, but unfortunately she's not. She's a married royalty, doesn't commit an act of heroism, or marry royalty at all, or is born royal for that matter. So she doesn't really qualify for the list. Then again, Tiana wasn't born royalty either. And yes, she does marry royalty, but how come Merida provides for this role? The only reason Merida is in the role of being a Disney princess, but she's from Pixar, is because she is born royalty, yes, and no, she does not marry royalty, but she does perform an act of heroism. Now, there are other girls in this list who don't qualify for the list at all. Like, yes, Snow White provides for this list if she wasn't born royal and didn't meet the prince and she didn't marry royalty, then yes, they wouldn't provide for the list. There are many girls like Pocahontas who wouldn't apply for the list at all, but the only reason Pocahontas applies for the Disney princess role is because of her act of heroism for saving John Smith. So, yes, and she technically is the daughter of a chief, so she is born royal, but if you count chiefs as royalty, and technically she is the daughter of the chief and she is qualified as a princess. And even though Pocahontas is a historical story, it really goes to show that Disney just loves having these girls. And Mulan, the only reason that they have act of heroism is for Mulan to become a Disney princess. So there are other girls out there in Disney, in other movies that aren't Disney related, that could be Disney princesses. As many goes, there are many Disney princesses out there, yes, but there are some girls who actually cannot become Disney princesses. And besides Odette and Anastasia, who obviously would be perfect for this role, you all could say that there's actually another girl who could have. There's actually many other girls that could actually become Disney princesses, like Thumbelina, or Krista from Ferngully, The Last Rainforest, or Irene from The Princess and the Goblin. There are many other princesses out there, and even the woman who portrayed as Marina from Sinbad and the Seven Seas. And even there are girls who could be Disney princesses, but they're from other films, like Fiona from Shrek, or Dorothy from, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, or Red Riding Hood from, Hoodwinked, or Elise, who is the daughter of Odette. See, there are many girls out there who would perfectly apply for Disney princesses, but they're from other films like DreamWorks, or even Sony Pictures, maybe even from 20th Century Fox, maybe even Blumhouse Pictures. There are many girls out there who would qualify for this list. But unfortunately, they are from different films and they are not Disney princesses. And there would be more Disney princesses if Esmeralda was on this list as well. But unfortunately, she's not a Disney princess. There are only the girls who actually are in Disney films. And the only reason they don't have these girls as Disney princesses is either because, one, they're not human, or two, they're from different films. And yes, true, they do not apply. But let's talk about the girls that I just named who could be Disney princesses and what they could qualify for. Well, let's start with the list I have here right in front of me. Odette. Now, Odette could be a princess. First of all, she is born royalty, obviously. At the beginning, she says she's the name of the entire film, the Swan Princess. And yes, she does turn into a swan throughout the entirety, halfway of the film, hence the name. It's basically, her story's based off the ballet, the Swan Ballet, based off Swan Lake, but in a different way. Odette, yes, she is born royal, obviously, and she does marry royalty. She marries Prince Derek at the end of her film. And true, she doesn't perform an act of heroism because she's on the verge of dying, but the Swan Princess was actually a really amazing film by 20th Century Fox. And I think Odette would have made a really good addition to this role. So, what do you all think? Do you think Odette would have been perfect for being a Disney princess? People actually thought that she was, but unfortunately, 20th Century Fox actually made this film as one of their own. So, yeah, she's not a Disney princess, but do you think she could be? Because obviously, you have to at least marry royalty or be royalty or perform an act of heroism. Now, let's move on to the next candidate, Thumbelina. Oh my gosh, if they left Thumbelina off this list, I don't know why. She's perfect for being a Disney princess. Of course, she is human if you qualify her for being totally small and becoming a fairy at the end of the film, sure. But yes, she is human throughout the entirety of the film until we see that she gets her own pair of wings. She isn't born royal, of course. She's born from a flower and raised by a young woman and an old woman who wanted a child. And she is small, but she is still human. And she does marry royalty. She performs multiple acts of heroism by standing up to people, even to the toad. Sure, the love of her life, Cornelius, does stand up for her, but Thumbelina, I really wish she was a Disney princess. Most people actually when they watched Thumbelina, they thought that she was a Disney princess. So, yeah, she's left off the list as well. Now, the next character should never have been in 20th Century Fox. I wish she was a Disney princess, but I don't think she will be. Anastasia. Now, this is kind of an insult to Disney as much as anything to us. As many of you probably, my viewers, love to watch Disney princess movies. Anastasia was the top movie of the 1997 film. It topped most animated films, including Hercules at the time, and it would have probably topped the movie Titanic that came out that year. But it's only an animated film, so live action doesn't really count. Then again, they did a Broadway production of Anastasia, but I never got to see it. I'm sorry, guys. Now, Anastasia, yes, she's obviously born royalty. You know she's born royalty throughout the entirety of the film. We all probably don't know that when we first watch it. Those of you who haven't watched Anastasia, you're totally missing out. Go watch her. And yeah, you could say that Anastasia being left off being a Disney princess is still wrong. She's obviously born royalty, and she does perform an act of heroism at the end of the film by destroying Rasputin's source of power. Sure, she doesn't marry royalty because her love interest, Dmitri, is nothing but a con man, and they do get married at the end of the film, but Anastasia, left of the list, she's totally getting the snub for being a total left off this list. This is totally wrong. She's perfect for being a Disney princess. I mean, she's got the outfit down. I don't know why she shouldn't be with the Disney princess in their pictures. Now, let's get to the next one on our list. Krista from Ferngully, The Last Rainforest. Now, Krista, of course, the obvious problem, she's not human. Unlike the other three candidates, with Odette turning into a swan, of course, and Thumbelina getting her wings at the end of her film, which makes her a fairy, this kind of establishes that Krista could not be on this list. The only reason she's not a Disney princess because she's a fairy, and yes, she is a princess, and she is the daughter of the king of the fairies, and she does have magic, of course, and she is born royalty, obviously. The only reason she's not a Disney princess is because she's probably not human. Then again, Tinkerbell was on the Disney princess list, but she got revoked because she got moved off the list. But then again, Krista could be a Disney princess after all. And she does perform a big act of heroism. Yes, so that's down. The only reason is she doesn't marry royalty. She does fall in love with the human Zack, obviously, but that doesn't really count. He's just a human. He's not born royalty at all. So yeah. So that's a really bad thing. I loved watching Ferngully, The Last Rainforest, even Ferngully 2, which was kind of in poor quality, but then again, it was kind of good. Now, the next person, you probably haven't watched this film, but you probably have, and if you have, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. Irene from The Princess and the Goblin. Now, Irene is kind of a mixture of a classic era princess plus modern. She is a really girly girl, and of course, she's probably like 12, maybe 13 years old maybe 11, when she's like going on this little adventure of hers. But then again, Irene is a young girl, and she's a princess, obviously. She's born royalty. Her father is like King Arthur and goes on this little crusade, and she's left alone with her nanny. And of course, she obviously is born royal, so that's not a problem. She obviously lives in a castle, so we see throughout the entire of the film she's born royalty. She ends up becoming friends and falling head over heels for a young boy she met named Curdy. She doesn't marry royalty, she's a little girl, and of course, little girls, as princesses, are not just going to marry the first guy they see. And she's a kid, so obviously she doesn't marry royalty. Her father's not forcing her to marry anybody. She does perform acts of heroism. Sure, she may act like a total girly girl and be captured by the goblins, but she does try to perform acts of heroism by being brave and going to the goblin lair and not being scared of anything. So yeah, the other girls on this list, like you probably seen through the pictures, two of them I've actually seen in other like little fan-made trailers of Disney and non-Disney movies, and one of them actually I have seen in a film, but the others I've never seen before. I'm sorry guys if I can't explain those. Now let's get on to the next list of girls who I consider are being totally snubbed for being left on this list. Now, many of these girls on this list, except for one, I've actually seen in a film. Now, as for these girls, I gotta say, many of them aren't gonna be Disney princesses, obviously, because they're not born royalty. But and some of them are born royalty, but then again, at least like maybe 2 or 3 of them are born royalty, and well, you know what I'm talking about. Now let's start with Elise, who is obviously Odette and Derek's adopted daughter. Of course, she is born royalty. She doesn't marry royalty, obviously. She's a little girl, like Irene from The Princess and the Goblin. And she performs throughout the entirety. You will never see her. Of course, she doesn't show up in the original Swan Princess, but she does show up in many other sequels to come. Not the next 2 sequels, but the basically more better animated version of the Swan Princess. And she obviously is raised to be a princess by her parents, and well, she ends up making a lot of new friends, and I think she falls head over heels for a boy. I don't know, but she does perform acts of heroism throughout the time that she's like become a princess. So Elise, there's not really much to talk about other than the fact that the Swan Princess, many other films to come, are very much adventurous and fun. Now, as for Fiona, the next one on our list, definitely getting the snub, Fiona from Shrek. Now, Fiona, I don't know, she's a princess, obviously. She was born royalty. She didn't marry royalty because she would have been married to Prince Charming, who was a self-absorbed jerk and cared more about his looks and his perfectionist and perfection of a girl than he cared about freaking anything else, and he cared more about getting the crown. And Fiona's parents are the Princess and the Frog. No, not Tiana. The Princess and the Frog is in being, her parents are Lillian and Prince Harold and her were the Frog Prince. Yeah, that story. So, and yes, the only reason Fiona is not on the list because her movie was from DreamWorks, and mostly she would have been off this list for another reason because she turned into an ogre, and she stayed like an ogre throughout the entirety of almost all 4 films, except the first one and the second one. She turned human again in the second one, and she kept turning ogre into human back and forth in the first film. But yeah, Fiona being left on this list is a total sham. Everyone loved Shrek. Shrek was a big hit during the time when DreamWorks had a lot going for them, including like The Prince of Egypt and Joseph King of Dreams and all that stuff. DreamWorks was awesome. Now, there's another few people on this list that I want to talk about, like Red from Hoodwinked, as in Red Riding Hood. If Disney was going to have to make another Disney princess film, it had to be about either Red Riding Hood or Goldilocks and the Seven Dwarfs. Now, why leave Hoodwinked off this list? Probably because it only got like 2 films, and the first film was not that good at all. It just had bad narration, terrible mixture of the fairy tales, and how basically you mix modernize with basically fairy tale life. So that was weird. But I loved Hoodwinked. It was so much fun. The only reason that they did not have Hoodwink on this list because Red Riding Hood, she wasn't born royalty, didn't marry royalty, but she performed multiple acts of heroism, so that's got her down. But the only reason she doesn't, I don't know why. She's in a fairy tale world, probably because it's like modernized and it's not like a fairy tale at all. And her movie is from another company. Now, there's like at least 4 more that I can talk about that are basically getting the snub still. But then again, they're from other companies and films. Now, let's talk about Mavis from Hotel Transylvania. Of course, Mavis is obviously a descendant of Dracula, who's her father, and Dracula is kind of royalty himself. Vampires are considered royal as well. And yeah, she kind of is born royal if you count descendant of a count being royalty. She doesn't marry royalty. Like, she does officially marry Johnny in the second film, but he's not born royalty at all. He's just a young human boy. And I don't think she performs acts of heroism. Like, maybe not. I don't think so. I think at the second film she does, but she's already starring the sequel, and that's one of the, if you look up Super Carlin Brothers theories about princesses getting snubbed, you would know that you must not star in a sequel. And technically, Elise and Fiona probably would have, and maybe even Red, actually, that probably would explain why they're getting the snub. Not just for being from another company from Disney, but because they starred in sequels. So, yeah, that's basically what could happen. The next character is Astrid from How to Train Your Dragon. And again, sequel. But Astrid, of course, is getting the snub because, well, she's not royalty. She does. I think she does marry royalty. Hiccup is the chief's son, so that would make her the next queen or something like that. Chief or whatever, chieftress or whatever. So, but she doesn't marry Hiccup, I don't think. Like, maybe in the spin-off TV series, probably, but, in the films, not really. No, they're just boyfriend and girlfriend, so, yeah. So, really, that's the only problem with Astrid. That, and she's starting a sequel. And the spin-off TV series probably is a little bit bad. Now, Susan is a different case. She's obviously human, yes. Monsters, I'm thinking of Monster University, guys, I'm sorry. Monsters vs. Aliens, there wasn't a sequel, but there was a spin-off TV series, but that doesn't really count, guys. So Monsters vs. Aliens, no sequel. That's a good thing. She is human. We see she is human. She just got transformed. She doesn't even know what's happening to her. And no, she was not born royal. She obviously didn't marry royal because obviously she did not marry the man who she thought she loved, who she actually thought loved her. But she does perform a big act of heroism in her movie. So, yeah, you can say that Susan really is a great influence, and I loved her film. I loved that she was a big influence on people to be strong and brave, even if you don't have a man, even if you have, like, powers. And yeah, even though Monsters vs. Aliens, How to Train Your Dragon were basically DreamWorks films, but then again, it was perfect. Now, the last character I'm going to talk about, who you probably all watched, maybe you didn't, is Dorothy from Legends of Oz, Dorothy's Return. That one, with the better animation, that really made Dorothy a little girl. maybe a preteen. Um, Dorothy, yes, she was not born royalty. Didn't marry anybody. She's a little girl. Jesus, watch my Irene, Red, Elise, okay? But she did perform an act of heroism, not just from like this may be the only movie about Dorothy, but many other versions of The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy definitely performed act of heroism. And sure, people could portray her in human form and cartoon form as long as you have the perfect actress for her. So yeah, basically, Dorothy definitely getting the snub for this. Yes, but even though, and yes, she performed an act of heroism, she is human. Well, The Wizard of Oz, there's been spin-offs, but this is just the one that we're talking about, The Legends of Oz. So there's no sequel to that, of course. If you can call this a sequel, after Dorothy did return after 5 minutes, and then she's automatically swept back into Oz. So yeah, Dorothy definitely getting a snub. I wish that Dorothy was actually a Disney princess. The Wizard of Oz is such an iconic movie and book. Just like I kind of wish The Great Gatsby was part of the Disney Princess franchise, but the Daisy probably would not portray. After all, you probably get the girl who played her in the 2013 version to be a Disney princess, but obviously not. So yeah, guys, these girls are basically getting snubbed big time for being royalty, yes, but not really getting anywhere. Like the only reason, and another problem, guys, that they probably would not put them as Disney princesses is because, well, you can't really get like people. They probably couldn't find anybody to like play them in Disneyland or Disney World, and they're from other companies and they were made from different other films and all that stuff. So yeah, you really couldn't put these like Dorothy, like you can have a little girl going around Disneyland portraying Dorothy all the time, or maybe a girl who played Elise. Okay, maybe Elise, not because yeah, she may be the daughter of Odette, but Odette was the original Swan Princess. So really, it wouldn't be the same. Now, all these other girls I've seen in different films, except for one, but and maybe a few others from the last photo. But really, I think that these girls deserve a chance. Now, my last question for you guys is, which Disney princess are you? Now, I know there's probably a test out there for Cosmopolitan about which Disney princess are you, and I gotta say, I'm more of, if I had to pick what Disney princess I'm more like, I'd say I'm more like between Belle and Tiana. So, because I'm hardworking, I'm very independent and strong, I love to read books, and I do anything to like make my family proud. But yeah. But which Disney princess are you guys? That's my last question for you guys. Now, I'm gonna go and I'll probably do like the top 5, top 10 snub Disney princesses as I just said today. But I probably already explained that, so I'll probably not do that video. Then again, guys, remember, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my theory videos. I'll do vlogs in the mid-future. And if you want me to talk more about Disney or Disney princesses in general and why Disney, the live-action versions, maybe even why Disney is terrible as it is, or maybe because they're holding back a lot, or why basically anything that Disney does is bad. So if you all want me to talk about that, I will talk about it later. And yeah, guys, so I'll do some more videos later on when I'm down in Texas soon. So after this semester is about to be over, guys, so don't worry, I'll start on more videos. I just want you all to know I'm really trying my best here to like make my videos as good as possible. And I will, guys, I promise. I will try to do a lot of videos, and even if like I'm out of college, I'll try to do as much as I can. But until then, guys, I'm proud that you guys watch my videos, If you all watch more of my videos, I will appreciate it very, very much. So now I'm just going to go and see what kind of movies I want. And I'm probably going to do one about this movie I was watching, Poseidon. If you all want, go watch it before like I do my video, maybe tomorrow or Sunday, maybe even during the week, next week. So yeah, just go watch that video. Watch my video here for Disney princesses and Disney and all that stuff. And I will see you all later in the next video. So yeah, guys. I'll do one on this movie I found, Poseidon. I'll do that, and maybe I'll do one on the another Wizard of Oz theory, and maybe I'll talk about Dorothy and how old she really is, and when was she born, and is her fantasy a real thing? The Tom and Jerry film, basically about the Wizard of Oz, and the sequel to that movie after that. So yeah, guys. If you want whatever movie, remember, guys, comment below what kind of movies or what kind of book, movie, film, or TV show you want me to talk about, and I'll try my best to watch that movie, film, TV show, or read that book so that I can do a video about it. So I'm just going to upload this video, edit my video, and upload it, and I'm going to see you guys later. I'll see you all maybe Sunday, maybe Saturday tomorrow, and I'll see you all later. Bye, guys!